Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk, and UK Astrologer. Hello, how are you? I'm having a Sunday, and it's getting ridiculously hot in the UK, and the UK isn't designed for heat. We're designed for cloud and rain, and British people are happy with rain. They're fine with sunshine for about 2 or 3 days, and then after that, if it continues to stay hot, all you'll hear is people moaning, because it's much more difficult to stay cool in the UK because hardly anybody has got aircon in their houses, and as climate change affects people, it's probably going to get worse. But hey, this episode is not about climate change. This episode, I want to talk a bit today about the elements: earth, air, fire and water. And I was having a little thing in my head, as you do when you're an astrologer, about which houses and what areas of life are more important to the different elements: earth, air, fire and water. And I'm going to walk you through stuff that you already know, but we're going to go through it together, so hey, why not? Now, I've got 2 chart examples here today, and we're going to go through them. Just before I kick off, I just want to say I am in the process of organising an interview with somebody. Obviously can't mention who they are until they have confirmed. And also a lovely podcast lady, and her name is Elizabeth, has written in, so I might be covering her chart, and you might be listening to that. So there are things going on in the background. So there are things coming up. And I also need to tell you about the Astrological Association conference, of which I will be attending in my capacity as trustee, because my, inverted commas, job, well, it's a job actually, my job, it's an unpaid job, just to let you know that being a trustee is a volunteer position, at the conference this year, which I'll give you a few more details about in a second. My role during that conference is going to be to do all the techie stuff, so the broadcasts that are made live from the conference to the people that have decided to watch the presentations by our guests. And you can get more information from all of it at the astrologicalassociation.com. On the first page, when you get there, you'll see the bit about conference. You can click on it and get more details. It's going to be in Nottingham. That's where Robin Hood originated, and the theme is to do with the fact that Pluto has gone into Aquarius, and it's about, do we rob the rich to pay the poor? Inverted commas, not literally. And the dates for it are from Wednesday the 27th of August to Sunday the 31st. And there's quite a lot of it that is going to be online, which is going to be super fun. And one of the online speakers is going to be Stephen Forrest, spelled Forrest. He's a US astrologer. He's absolutely lovely. Another speaker is Rod Chang, who has been on the podcast, and also Reese Chatham. Again, he's been on the podcast. So they are going to be, so Reese is doing residential, so he's actually physically going to be there, and so is Rod. But Stephen is going to be doing the online, and hopefully one more speaker is going to be coming onto the podcast. So that's the details of it. You don't have to go for the whole weekend. You can go for a day, stay one night. You can go day rate, just have a day. You can also watch because all of the speakers and all of their presentations are going to be broadcast live on our YouTube channel. So that was the plug for the AA. Now let's go back to earth, air, fire and water. Now the houses are divided to the elements. So first house is fire, second house is earth, third house is air, fourth house is water, and then it goes back to the fifth house is fire, earth, air, water, which the eighth house is water, and then fire for the ninth, earth for the 10th, air for the 11th and water for the 12th. And I'm going to show 2 charts today to make a little bit of the point about that the element that you are will also make you, is that the right word? You're more inclined to respond to and be concerned about the issues to do with the houses that relate to the element that you are yourself. So I'm a sun sign Pisces, and my chart is just totally upside down. My sun sign is in the 7th, which is an air house, and my moon sign is in the 10th in an air sign. So my chart's all over the place. However, because the 4th house is a water house, that's home and roots. As you know, I've probably talked about my family so much, you're sick of hearing about it. The 8th house is birth, death, reincarnation, sort of weird SHIT, which I do past life sessions and delve into the subconscious. That's one of my qualifications. And then the 12th house is the house of spirituality, which is very much why I continue to be an astrologer and will be until my dying day, because I'm fascinated by other worlds that exist or not exist, or how we can prove them, that type of thing. But the 12th house is the house of spirituality, which I'm very tuned into. So even though none of the planets, I think I might have, let me have a think, I think I've got 1 planet. Nope, I don't even have a single planet in its inverted commas natural element home in my chart, but that doesn't detract from the fact that I have an interest in those areas of life. You with me? Now, to get the keywords, I'll repeat again so you can get it, the keywords for the houses and their meanings are on my website, maryenglish.com/keywords.txt, and keywords is with a capital K, so please zip over there, download your free cheat sheet, your keyword sheet. So going back to fire, air, earth and water. So what prompted today's episode is I had a brother who unfortunately is in heaven now, and he died 10 years ago this week, and he was a Virgo, which is an earth sign, and every time we met he'd ask me about my finances and also how my career was going, and I thought, why does he always ask me that? And then it was the twig points, like, because he's earth, and so the earth houses are 2nd, 6 and 10. So that was, even though, again, with his chart, he didn't have anything located in the right places. I'm not going to check his chart because he hasn't given permission, and he's passed and he's in heaven and he's got relatives and they probably wouldn't agree either. But I'm not even going to ask them, so we're not going to go there. But I can just assure you that he definitely was an earth sign. And he was always amazed that I could make a living from what I do, because he had a completely different job from me. He was an antique book dealer, and he made money from buying books, second-hand books, and then reselling them at profit to other book dealers or to members of the public. And he had a bookshop, and he did his degree in English. He did have his sun sign in the 9th, so he was very interested in education, further education. He did all that, did university, But it was just the fact that he used to ask me that so much. When I told him how many clients I'd got, and this is a long time ago, told me how many clients, he was quite astounded that I showed him, because he'd visited the house at that point, that I keep a little index card for each client, and he goes, whoa, you've got a lot of clients. And I went, well, yes, I've built them up over the years. And so that was what got me onto the train of thought about the fact that the earth signs are going to be, sweeping generalizations now, more concerned with the issues to do with the other earth houses. So if you are a fire sign, going to ask you this question. Are you more concerned with the first house, which is the self and how other people see you, and the fifth house, which is creativity, and the ninth house, which is long-term travel, further education, philosophy, etc.? So the two charts that I've got here, I'm not going to talk an awful lot about the two different people because you can Google it and you can find it out. And all I ever do to you, I mean, it must be hellishly boring. I only ever read out to you their Wikipedia pages because I've never met the people. They're not clients of mine. And there's a limit to the amount of client charts that I can share with you. People that write in and inquire about the podcast, I'm quite happy and they give permission to talk about their charts, but I'm not going to be using client charts. The client charts I used at the beginning of the podcast, they're in episodes 1 to 20. Those particular people, when I started the podcast, gave me, and they were all clients, gave me permission to use their charts. So just to explain that. Now, we've got two charts here. One's a lady called Nikki Reed. She was an actress and now she sells jewellery and has 2 kiddies, I think. And the other person is called Arnaud Jerald, and he is a French deep sea diver. So we have 2 totally different occupations. And I obviously looked around the internet to find out information about these 2 people. So we'll just start with Nikki. So Nikki, and I wanted to show an example chart so that you can get it into your, not get it into your head, that's the wrong thing to say, but just to remind you of the order of the, what we call, now there's a word for it, so if we're saying a typical chart, yes, to do fire, air, earth, water. Nikki was born with her ascendant as 0 degrees Aries and 18 minutes. So her chart starts in the sign of Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, which is a fire sign. Yes, so if you go to the show notes, you'll see her chart. And I just want to add in as well, if you've just recently joined the podcast, I want to just point out that the house system I use is called Equal House. And if you've only just started listening to the podcast and you're creating your charts on astro.com, the default house system on there is a system called Placidus, which I don't use. So you might be creating a chart and emailing me and telling me that you've got a planet in a such and such house. Well, might not be the same as the house system I use. So when I'm telling you people's charts, please keep in mind that the house system I'm using is Equal House, which is available on astro.com on the extended chart selection page. And I also have a YouTube video on my YouTube channel on how to make an Equal House chart, and I've written a book about Equal House, and it's called Enjoying Equal House, why one of the oldest astrological house systems is so easy to use. I made a really long title and I don't care because I wanted to make sure that people that bought the book knew what it was that they were getting. But if you were to Google Enjoying Equal House Mary English, the book will come up because it's available on Amazon and near enough everywhere that you get books. It's a physical book and it is also an ebook, and I'm very proud of it, and it was very nice that people that helped agree to things that are in the book. Okay, right. So Nikki has an Aries ascendant and no planets in her first house because she's a sun sign Taurus. She was born on the 17th of May 1988 at 3:13 a.m. in Los Angeles Cedars Sinai Hospital in California, US. So she's born early in the morning and the ascendant sign just so happens to be Aries. So when you look at her chart, then in your mind you can be thinking, first house is a fire house, second house is an earth house, third house is air, fourth house is water, because that just happens in her chart, that's how it's worked out. So and we had this once with the lady that I was teaching astrology to. She just so happened to be born with an Aries ascendant and then thought that everybody would have their chart start in the sign of Aries. And it was quite an understandable thing for her to think, because she knew that Aries was the first sign of the zodiac. It took her we were in one lesson and we were talking about it, and then she suddenly grasped that, oh my goodness, not every chart is going to start in the sign of Aries. She'd already learnt the signs of the zodiac, and so when we demonstrated with the other, this was when I did classes with people together, we demonstrated everybody else's charts, and they said, oh no, I've got a Gemini ascendant, and oh, I've got an Aquarius ascendant, so everything's in a different order. She had this sort of, it was wonderful watching it, she had this light bulb moment, oh my goodness, everybody's chart's going to be different. So never feel bad about not knowing anything or everything or just some things, because that's how we learn. Going back to Nikki, she not only is a sun sign Taurus, but because of the way that her chart is, her sun is in the second house. And what's the second house all to do with, Mary? Money. There's only one word for the second house. Don't let the modern interpretations of the second house fall into your ears that is about self-worth. They didn't have self-worth back in the Babylonian era. Sorry, it is only to do with money. And she has her sun there and her Jupiter, so she is literally not short of a bob or two. So she made quite a considerable amount of money with her acting, did that very good, very financially profitable, one presumes, acting career. And now she doesn't sell it, but she owns a website where the website sells recycled gold jewellery, and I thought that was very much a Taurus thing. Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus definitely likes to look beautiful, and she herself is a very, very beautiful lady. She's got Moon in the third house in the sign of Gemini, and her Mercury's there, so her sun sign is happy in the second house, well, because it's in the sign of Taurus and that's sun. But now we can look at also like rulerships and natural locations for things. She's got Mercury in the third. Mercury is happy in the third because it's the ruler to the third, because the third house is Gemini and it's ruled by the planet Mercury. If she had Venus in the second, which she doesn't, that would be happy there. And actually, let me reverse what I said about the sun being in the second. The sun is happier in the fifth, so I apologise. But she's got sun in Taurus. Okay, good. That's the time of year that she's born. None of her other planets are, well, okay, so we've got, yes, they are. So Saturn is in the sign of Capricorn in the 10th. So the 10th house is the sign Capricorn. Ruler to Capricorn is Saturn, so he's happy up there. Good old Saturn. However, he's retrograde, he's conjunct Neptune, and he's conjunct Uranus. So there's a little bit of a stellium going on there and a little bit of a house party. Mars is in Aquarius in the 11th. That's to do with friendships. So I've not interviewed her. I don't know whether or not she does or doesn't get on with her mates or likes to do things in groups. Who knows? 8th house, she's got Pluto in the sign of Scorpio. 8th house is ruled by two rulers, old-fashioned ruler Mars, modern ruler Pluto. So Pluto's happy in that sign in that house. Yeah, you with me? So she's got, because of the time of day that she's born, she's got the signs of the zodiac in the inverted commas in the natural order of the way things go. And going back to, are those things that she's concerned about? Finances, work and career. I don't know if she's concerned about her work, but she did work for a long time. It seems like there was a lot of films that she starred in, so that's, a lot of work. And the 10th career, so she's done a career. Her Wikipedia page says she's I thought the exact word, former actress. So she's not an actress now. She was an actress. And when you sort of think about actors and actressing and all the rest of it, it can be very easy to assume that they need to have something in the 5th or a Leo ascendant or any of those other zillions of things that one would presume that an actor is. But you also have to remember that acting, there's different types of acting and different types of films that the person might end up being cast to be signed up for. So don't always assume that a Leo ascendant or anything to do with Leo or fifth house indicates acting, because it doesn't in her case. However, because she's got an Aries ascendant, she's definitely going to be getting out there and doing stuff, because the knee-jerk sign of your ascendant is the one you're going to go to when you're under stress or you're making decisions about stuff. So that's Nikki. Right? The next person we've got is Arnaud, A-R-N-A-U-D, and he's a deep sea diver. And when I got his chart, I thought, oh, fab. He's got a Cancer ascendant. Now, when I was doing the searching, I just searched for Sun in the 8th. Okay. And this is Sun in the 8th, Pisces, and Sun conjunct Mars. So Sun and Mars are conjunct. But the Sun is in a water house of the 8th house, and the ascendant is Cancer. And I thought, oh, those are two watery things. Oh, what does he do for a living? He's a deep sea diver. He's won awards, I think. I can give you a little bit about him. Hold on a sec. He is, he does it as a sporting thing, and he broke a record for diving to the depth of 108 meters without dying or suffocating or whatever. And he set a world record again, set the world record in constant weight bifins by diving to 112 meters, and he achieved another world record of 120 meters in bifin diving in August 2022. Then he broke another world record in the Bahamas with a dive to 122 metres, and that was in 2023. And it's funny what makes astrologers chuckle, but it was like 8th house is, deep stuff. And his Sun's located there. The Sun, is the 8th house is other people's money, and this sort of whole energies of the 8th house is like, don't come too close to me, and very sort of scorpionic type of stuff. But then the ascendant was Cancer, which is represented by the crab, and what does he do for a living? It was like, I thought that was quite funny. 4th house has got its north node, so 4th house is a water house, 8th house is a water house, and 12th house is a water house. And in his 12th house he's got his moon, and the moon's in the sign of Gemini because he's got Cancer ascendant. So I don't know, maybe he's chatty, but it's hidden. The 12th house is hidden, so he's a bloke anyway. He's probably going to talk about how he feels. But the Sun conjunct Mars, and he does a very, very risky sport. I mean, that isn't a sport that you can do easily. That'll take an awful lot of training. So have a think about your own chart, write in and let me know what you've got. Does it resonate for you that even though you might not have planets in their natural earthy, airy, fiery homes, are those more concerns for you? Can you work out for yourself that because you're an earth sign, you're more concerned with possibly money, work, career, that you're a fire sign, that you're more concerned with how you project to the world, your creativity and spirituality, because 9th house is spirituality, the same as 12th houses, but 9th house is spirituality, just travel, further education. Air, you air sign. 3rd house, communications, short journeys. 7th, relationships. 11th, friendships, and then water. 4th, 8th, 12th. Does that resonate for you or not? So that's what we've been looking at today. I say, if you've got a question about your chart, so I'm in communication with this lovely Elizabeth lady at the moment. She might give permission at some point, she might not. But thank you very much for sending your chart in, and we'll possibly talk about it in the future. But if you've got a query on your chart and you want me to cover it on the podcast so that other people that are listening can also have a discussion about what is in their charts, then do get in contact. It's mary@maryenglish.co.uk, and I hope you have a fab week. Bye bye now.